Om Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhi Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Agajanana Patmarkam Gajanana Maharnisham अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे श्रीमहागणपतये नमः गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे हयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः उमाकोमलहस्ताब्ज सम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्वजं வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம் சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிரக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தஹே ஜகதः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ श्री पार्वती परमेश्वराभ्यां नमः कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजम् करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचर गुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम् कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നിറജലോചനാനിന്നോടായി ഏതീനു മന്യനെ കുമ്പിടേണ്ടതോരു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കുന്നായി കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Welcome everyone. Good morning.
ராஜேஷ், ஒரே ஒரு கொஸ்டின். இந்த கைரண்டும் கூப்பிங்கான் இது வந்து ஜஸ்ட் சுவாமி கிட்ட ரொம்ப ஸ்லோவா சொல்ல முடியாட்டாலும் இந்த ரெண்டு லைனை சொல்லிட்டு வந்துடலாம் இல்லையா?
ஆமா, because the meaning literally you little bit you can understand, right? Kairendum kupinyan meandum. I mean, Jyoti can explain it better. But yeah, essentially it is saying that no, I'm surrendering and you please bless me, right? I forget the lyrics when I'm trying to explain the meaning now, but yeah,
that is, yeah, I'm surrendering to you.
surrendering to you. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is really what it is. So, okay. So let's see who we have today. Okay. So, Amandu, we have to do 75 from 7 to end, and then 76 from 1 to 8, right? So it's about like 12 stanzas. So 6 each we can do. So, maybe Lalita, you can do on the 75 or the 3 stanzas, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then maybe a couple of stanzas of 76. And then let me see who else we had. And Padmaja, Ramesh, you can do the other half. Okay. All right. Okay, Lalita, we can start whenever you're ready.
ಪ್ರಾದಸಂದ್ರಸ್ತಭೋಜಕ್ಷಿತಿಪತಿಚಸ
Lalita, ಅದಲ್ಲ 75 75 ಸೆವೆಂತ್ ಸ್ಟಾನ್ಸ. ಹಾದಿಕ್ಕಷ್ಟಂ ಕುಮಾರೋ
ಹಾದಿಕ್ಕಷ್ಟಂ ಕುಮಾರೌ ಸುಲಲಿತ ವಪುಷೋ ಮಲ್ಲವೀರೌ ಕಠೋರೌ ನ ತ್ರಕ್ಷ್ಯಾಮೋ ವೃಜಾಮಸ್ತ್ವರಿತಮಿತಿ ಜನೇ ಪಾಶಮಾನೇ ತದಾನಿ ಚಾನೂರಂ ತಂ ಕರೋದ್ ಬ್ರಾಹ್ಮಣ ವಿಕಲತ ಸಂಬೋಧಯಾಮಾಸಿತೋರ್ವ್ಯಾ ಭಿಷ್ಟೋ ಭೂನ್ಮುಷ್ಟಿಗೋಪಿ ಧೃತಮತಃ ಹಲಿನಾ ನಷ್ಟಶಿಷ್ಟೈರ್ತದಾವೇ ಕಂಸ ಸಂವಾರ್ಯ ಧೂರ್ಯಂ ಕಲಮದಿರವಿದನ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಮಾರ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಗಂತುಂ ಸ್ಥಾನಾಗಂತುಂ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಮೂರ್ತೆ ತವ ಚ ಸಂಶಿಷ ದೂರಮುತ್ಸಾರಣಾಯ
ஆஹந்தும் செகண்ட் லைன் ஆஹந்தும் அப்புறம் காமா. ஓகே. So பித்ரும் ஸ்தான் ஆஹந்தும் and then வியாப்த மூர்த்தேஸ்.
ಕಂಸ ಸಂವಾರ್ಯ ತೂರ್ಯಂ ಕಲಮದಿರವಿದನ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಮಾರ್ಯಾನ್ ಪಿತೃಂಸ್ತಾನಾಗಂತುಂ ವ್ಯಾಪ್ತಮೂರ್ತೆಸ್ತವ ಚ ಸಂಶಿಷತ್ ದೂರಮುತ್ಸಾರಣಾಯ ರುಷ್ಟೋ ದುಷ್ಟೋಗ್ದಿಭಿಸ್ತ್ವಂ ಗರುಡೈವ ಗಿರಿಂ ನುಜಂತ ಕಟ್ಕವ್ಯ ವಲ್ಕದು ಸಂಗ್ರಹಮಭಿ ಚ ಹಾಟತ್ ಪ್ರಾಗ್ರಹೀರೌಗ್ರಸೇನಿಂ.
Last line. Hatat and the word and then pause there.
Hatat parak. Okay. ಸದ್ಯೋ ನಿಷ್ಫಿಷ್ಟ ಸಂಧಿಂ ಭುವಿ ನರವದಿಮಾಬಾತ್ಯ ತಸ್ಯೋಪರಿಷ್ಠಾತ್ ತ್ವಯ್ಯಾಪಾತ್ಯೆ ತದೈವ ತ್ವದುಪರಿವದಿತ ನಾಕಿನಾಂ ಪುಷ್ಪವೃಷ್ಟಿಃ ಕಿಂ ಕಿಂ ಬ್ರೂಮಸ್ತದಾನೀಂ ಸತತಮವಿಭಿಯಾ ತ್ವತ್ಕದಾತ್ಮಾ ಸಬೇಜೆ ಸಾಯುಜ್ಯಂ ತ್ವದ್ವದೋತ್ಥಾ ಪರಮಪರಮಿಯಂ ವಾಸನಾ ಕಾಲನೇಮೇಹೇ ತತ್ಪ್ರಾಂದ್ರೋನಷ್ಟಭಿಷ್ಟ್ವಾ ಧೃತಮದಪಿತರೌ ಸನ್ನುಮನ್ನುಗ್ರಸೇನಂ ಕೃತ್ವಾ ರಾಜಾಮುಚ್ಚೈರ್ಯದುಕುಲಮಖಿಲಂ ಮೋದಯನ್ ಕಾಮದಾನೈಃ ಭಕ್ತಾನಾವುತ್ತಮಂಚೋದ್ವಮರ ಕುರೋರಾಪ್ತ ನೀತಿಂ ಸಕಾಯಂ ಲಬ್ಧ್ವಾ ದುಷ್ಟೋ ನ ಕರ್ಯಾಂ ಭವನಪುರಪದೇ ರುಂದಿಮೇ ಸರ್ವರೋಗಾ. ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣಾಯ ಪರಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣೇ ನಮಃ.
The third line, middle word, chodhavam amaragurur. Double dha. Third, bhaktanam uttamam chodhavam amaragurur.
Amaraguru, okay.
And the chodha, double dha there. And then fourth line after nagaryam, there's a comma.
Nagaryam comma, okay.
You can do 2 stanzas of 76 here.
गत्वा सान्दीपणिमत चतुष्षष्टिमात्रैरहोभिः सर्वज्ञस्त्वं सगमुसलिना सर्वविद्यां गृहीत्वा पुत्रं नष्टं यमनिलयनाथाघृतं दक्षिणार्थं तद्वा तस्मै निजपुरमखाः नादयन् पाञ्चजन्यम् स्मृत्वा पशुपशुदृशुः प्रेमभारप्रणुन्नाः कारुण्येन त्वमपि विवशः राहिणोरुद्धवं तं
किञ्चामुष्मै.
Oh, sorry. किञ्चामुष्मे परमसुहृदे भक्तवर्याय दासां भक्त्युद्रेकं सकलभुवने दुर्लभं दर्शयिष्यन्
You can stop there. And the first line, just before the comma, Sudrishaha.
Sudrisha.
Sudrishaha. Okay. Padma, you can do the rest.
त्वन्माहात्म्यप्रतिमपि शुनं गोकुलं प्राप्य सायं त्वद्वार्ताभिर्बहुसरमया मासनन्दं प्रातर्दृष्ट्वा मणिमयरथं शङ्किताः पङ्कजाक्ष्यः श्रुत्वा प्राप्तं भवदनुचरं त्यक्तकार्या समीयुः दृष्ट्वा चैनं त्वदुपमलसद्वेषभूषाभिरामम् स्मृत्वा तव विलसितान्युच्चकैस्तानि रुद्धालापाः कथमपि पुनर्गद्गतां वाचमूचुः सौजन्यादीन् निजपरभिदाम् अप्यलं विस्मरन्त्यः श्रीमन् किं त्वं पितृजनकृते प्रेक्षितो निर्दयेन क्वासौ कान्तो नगरसुदृशां हाहरे नाथपायाः आश्लेषाणाममृतवपुषो हन्तते चुम्बनानाम् उन्मादानां कुहकवचसां विस्मरेत् कान्तकावा रासक्रीडालुलितललितं विश्लथत्केशपाशं मद्दोन्भिन्नश्रमजलकणं लोभनीयं त्वदङ्गम् कारुण्याब्धे सकृदपि समालिङ्गितुं दर्शयेति प्रेमोन्मादाद् भुवनमदन त्वत्प्रियास्त्वां विलेपुः.
Padmaja, the second line, first word, mandodbhinna.
Mandodbhinna.
Yeah. Okay.
एवं प्रायैर्विवशवचनैः आकुला गोपिकास्तास्त्वत्सन्देशैः प्रकृतिम् अनयत् सोऽथ विज्ञानगर्भैः भूयस्ताभिर्मुदितमतिभिः त्वन्मयीभिर्वधूभिः तद्वार्ता सरसम् अनयत् कानिचिद्वासराणि त्वत्प्रोद्गानैः सहितनिशम् सर्वतो गेहकृत्यं त्वद्वार्तैव प्रसरति मिथः सैव चोत्स्वापलापाः चेष्टाः प्रायस्त्वदनुकृतयः त्वन्मयं सर्वमेवं दृष्ट्वा तत्र व्यमुहत् अधिकं विस्मयात् उद्धवोऽयं. श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
Okay, so we'll continue. I have to still say the meaning for 8, so we'll kind of start with that. The first half, Jyoti Dev, you can be a student, and Harini, you can be a student. So go ahead. Somebody had a question? So, just to recap, right? So in this case, Krishna is sending Uddhava to Vrindavan to say, okay, you go talk to these Gopikas because I have not seen them for a long time. So Uddhava comes, and then we saw the conversation that was actually happening. Initially, the Gopikas were telling how, they miss Krishna and how Krishna never came here and how he's not, whether he's even thinking about them, or he's thinking about his parents, because that's where the messages went. So then Uddhava in the 7th stanza, he's actually kind of trying to comfort them, right? He's saying that, look, you keep thinking about this person, Krishna, as a human, and you keep thinking that he has to be near you, you have to interact with him and all of that, but he's actually one of the incarnation itself. So you have to think that he's there everywhere, he's inside in all of you, and you should try to understand the supreme knowledge. He talks to them about how they have to understand the jnana margam of getting the absolute truth about the Brahman, and how also they have to do the karma margam of doing their things and learning all the necessary stuff, the scriptures, and doing all this. So he gives a long list of things that the Gopikas have to do and say, you need to do all this, else you're going to be stuck in this life, right? You have to get liberated. So he gives them all these instructions. but he's not able to convince them, because for them, they're not able to resonate with it, right? Of talking about this Nirguna Brahman, they don't know how you can imagine that. So they're all lost. But then they kind of get a little bit, what you call, consoled, because, he says, see, this is what Krishna has said, right? And this is how you need to be approaching things. So they're like, okay, we just don't know, but maybe this is the way, right? But anyway, they all get consoled. So that's what we ended 7 with. And then in 8, so this is where it gets beautiful, because, Uddhava then decides that he wants to stay in Vrindavan for some time, because he wants, okay, let me just, because this is where Krishna has grown up and, he's kind of spent his time. So let me stay in Vrindavan. So he stays there, and then he just observes what happens on a everyday basis, right? And he's noticing that, every day, every time, the Gopikas keep talking about Krishna all the time, right? And no matter what they do, whether they are cooking, whether they are, getting water from the well, or they're milking cows, or cleaning, or doing other chores, they're always talking about Krishna in every single work that they are actually doing. And everywhere where he's walking through Vrindavan, and anybody he speaks to, they say, oh, this is where Krishna used to do this thing here. Here is where Krishna got into the Yamuna River. Here is what Krishna did on Govardhana. So every single thing, he saw that people were just relating it to Krishna and constantly thinking about him. And to the extent it talks about that, that's the only thing that the Gopikas thought about, whether it was when they're awake, whether they were in their dreams, they were just all imitating him and talking about him all the time, right? So this always reminds me of one story which I tell. I don't know if the story is real or not, but the story tries to explain the point, right? So Narada, as you all know, is one of the greatest devotees. So he once feels, Narada will never normally feel this. So I think this is just a story, but just to convey the point. Narada once feels that he is the greatest of the devotee. So he goes and tells Krishna that I am your greatest devotee. So Krishna says, no, you are not. There's another person in one village. So Narada says, what do you mean? So Krishna tells him, I'm going to give you a pot of water. You have to walk around that mountain, and if a drop of water spills, that means you are not my greatest devotee. So Narada says, no big deal, right? So he takes it, and then he goes and goes around the mountain, comes back, and he says, okay, look, not a drop of water spilled. So I'm your greatest devotee. So Krishna then says, okay, hold on, but how many times did you think about me when you were walking around this? So he's like, I was not, because I was focusing on making sure the water doesn't spill, right? And then Krishna then points to another farmer who's actually farming. And when he's doing his job, he's still thinking about Krishna, right? So he says that is the difference, right? So which is kind of what the Gopikas are actually, exemplifying here, right? They're absolutely thinking about Krishna every single time, in every single task they are doing. And Uddhava is sitting there for 3 months, and he's observing this all of this time through, right? So that's kind of what stanza 8 talked about. Now we come to 9. राधायां मे प्रियतममिधं मत्प्रियैवं ब्रवीति त्वं किं मौनं कलयसि सखे मानिनी मत्प्रियेव इद्यादेव प्रवदति सखी त्वत्प्रियो निर्जने माम् इत्थं वादैररमयदयं त्वत्प्रियाम् उत्पलाक्षीम्. So as Uddhava is kind of giving messages to all the Gopikas, right, about the messages from Krishna, for Radha, he has a separate message. So he says, like, listen, Krishna doesn't say it out in public, but when I'm in private with him, that's when Krishna shares all the things. And then he says, that Radha is my most favorite one. And sometimes when Uddhava is quiet, then he questions him, saying, why are you being quiet like my Radha? Sometimes she also goes quiet like this and doesn't talk to me. So with this, he always thinks about you, right? He thinks about you all the time. He hasn't forgotten about you. So with that, he kind of consoled Radha also in a special way. Radha yame priyatamamidam, comma, mat priyaivam braviti, short e, comma, tvam kim maunam kalayasi sakhe, comma, मानिनी मत्प्रियेव इत्याद्येव प्रवदति सखी, त्वत्प्रियो निर्जने माम, put a im at the end of that line, comma. Next line, the me becomes a e. Itham vadair aramayadayam. I'm just breaking at that ra if you want to. Vadair aramayadayam, comma. Twat priyam utpalakshim. राधाया मे प्रियतममिदं मत्प्रियैवं ब्रवीति त्वं किं मौनं कलयसि सखे मानिनी मत्प्रियेव इत्याद्येव प्रवदति सखी त्वत्प्रियो निर्जने माम् इत्थं वादैररमयदयं त्वत्प्रियाम् उत्पलाक्षीम्.
राधाया मे प्रियतममिदं मत्प्रियैवं ब्रवीति त्वत्किं मौनं कलयसि सखे मानिनी मत्प्रियेव इत्याद्येव प्रवदति सखी त्वत्प्रियो निर्जने माम् इत्थं वादैररमयदयं त्वत्प्रियामुत्पलाक्षीम्.
Jyoti, in the second line, first word, tvam. Tvam kim maunam. You said tvat by mistake, maybe. Tvam kim maunam.
Okay. राधाया मे प्रियतममिदं मत्प्रियैवं ब्रवीति त्वं किं मौनं कलयसि सखे मानिनी मत्प्रियेव इत्याद्येव प्रवदति सखी त्वत्प्रियो निर्जने माम् इत्थं वादैररमयदयं त्वत्प्रियामुत्पलाक्षीम्.
राधाया मे प्रियतममिदं मत्प्रियैवं ब्रवीति त्वं किं मौनं कलयसि सखे मानिनी मत्प्रियेव इत्याद्येव प्रवदति सखी त्वत्प्रियो निर्जने माम् इत्थं वादैररमयदयं त्वत्प्रियामुत्पलाक्षीम्. राधाया मे प्रियतममिदं मत्प्रियैवं ब्रवीति त्वं किं मौनं कलयसि सखे मानिनी मत्प्रियेव इत्याद्येव प्रवदति सखी त्वत्प्रियो निर्जने माम् इत्थं वादैररमयदयं त्वत्प्रियामुत्पलाक्षीम्.
Sensitive. एष्यामिद्राक् अनुपगमनं केवलं कार्यभारात् विश्लेषेऽपि स्मरणदृढता सम्भवान् मास्तु खेदः ब्रह्मानन्दे मिलति न चिरात् सङ्गमो वा वियोगस्तुल्यो वस्यादिति तव गिरा सोकरो निर्व्यथास्थाः. Some more message from Krishna. So, which Uddhava is continuing, saying, like we all say, I'm very busy at work, right? Krishna is saying, it's actually, I'm not able to come because I'm actually very busy. That's what he says. Because in the next chapter, we'll see how he's going to be constantly something or the other is going to keep happening. So he says, I'm just occupied with stuff. That is why I'm not able to come. But the important thing is, as far as the Gopikas or as far as we are concerned, we think this is everything. What is happening right now is everything, right? But it is not, because it is just, we are just taken one birth. Who knows what's going to happen next, right? So here Krishna is saying, don't worry, because Krishna knows what's going to happen later. So he knows all these Gopikas are going to get liberated. They're all going to get liberated, and then they'll reach Brahmanandam, Brahma Anandam. So always in a state of supreme bliss. And once they reach that state, then there is no happiness, no sorrow. It is all the same. So Krishna knows that they're all going to eventually come back. So, but they won't understand it. So he's just again conveying the message saying, do not worry about it. It is only a passing phase. It'll all go away once you eventually reach liberation. So you don't have to worry about it. So that is the message Uddhava also continues to give them. Eshyami drak. So the ga that is there, we're going to break it. So put the ik and then a comma. Then the next word will start with the a. Anupagamanam. So the entire rest of the first line and the entire second line will come together. So you can put a plus there. So Anupagamanam, Kevalam, Karya, Bharat. In case you have like Dvi in the second line, if you have that, all I'm doing is I'm just putting the it to the end of the first line and V in the second line. So it becomes Karya, Bharat, Vishleshepi. Okay, just splitting that so it will be easy to say. Karya, Bharat, Vishleshepi, Smarana, Dridata, Sambhavan, Mastu, Khedaha. Okay, so drak, comma, and then the entire two lines together. Brahmanande milati nachirat, comma. Sangamo va, then again this put a plus at the end of that line. Sangamo va viyogas tulyo vaha, put is, was, syaditi tavagira, and then a comma. So third line after milati nachirat, there is a comma. Then the whole thing goes together. Syaditi tavagira, fourth line comma. So karon nirvyathastaha. येष्यामिद्राक् अनुपगमनं केवलं कार्यभारात् विश्लेषेऽपि स्मरणदृढता सम्भवान् मास्तु खेदः ब्रह्मानन्दे मिलति न चिरात् सङ्गमो वा वियोगस्तुल्यो वस्यादिति तव गिरा सोकरोन्निर्व्यथास्थाः.
एष्यामिद्राक् अनुपगमनं केवलं कार्यभारात् विश्लेषे विस्मरणदृढता सम्भवान् मास्तु खेदः ब्रह्मानन्दे मिलति न चिरात् सङ्गमो वा वियोगस्तुल्यो वस्यादिति तव गिरा सोकरोर्निर्व्यथस्ताः.
And the first line, drak, if you pause it, then that you'll be able to do it continuous on the.
Okay.
Yeah.
एष्यामिद्राग् अनुपगमनं केवलं एष्यामिद्राग् अनुपगमनं केवलं कार्यभारात् विश्लेषे विस्मरणदृढता सम्भवान् मास्तु खेदः ब्रह्मानन्दे मिलति न चिरात् सङ्गमो वा वियोगस्तुल्यो वस्यादिति तव गिरा सोकरोर्निर्व्यथास्ताः.
And the first line, in the karat, you're saying there, right? If you don't say the t, just say karat, then the next word will come very easily, quickly. Okay. So, karya bharat vishleshepi. Okay.
Okay.
एष्यामिद्राक् अनुपमगमनं केवलं कार्यभारात् विश्लेषेऽपि स्मरणदृढता सम्भवान् मास्तु खेदः ब्रह्मानन्दे मिलति न चिरात् सङ्गमो वा वियोगस्तुल्यो वस्यादिति तव गिरा सोकरो निर्व्यथास्ताः.
First line,
एष्या
Anupagamanam, the word.
Anupagamanam. Okay. एष्यामिद्राक् अनुपगमनं केवलं कार्यभारात् विश्लेषेऽपि स्मरणदृढता सम्भवान् मास्तु खेदः ब्रह्मानन्दे मिलति न चिरात् सङ्गमो वा वियोगस्तुल्यो वस्यादिति तव गिरा सोकरो निर्व्यथास्ताः.
Stanza 11. Evam bhakti sakala bhuvane nekshita na shruta va kim shastraugaihi kimiha tapasa gopikabhyo namostu ityanandha kulamupagatam gokulad uddhavam tam drishtva hristo gurupurapate pahi mamamayogat. So this stanza, I love this stanza. I quote this several times in conversations also. This very similar stanza in Bhagavatam also, Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's not like Bhattadripa made this stanza up. Very similar stanza exists in Bhagavatam. So Uddhava, when he stays there for 3-4 months, he starts seeing a change within himself. See, he's learned from Brihaspati. So he felt he should get the title of a Brahma Rishi. So that's how knowledgeable he is about all of this stuff that is to be known, right? And he's also very devoted to Krishna. So it's not like he doesn't, he's away from Krishna. But despite all that, Uddhava sees that he himself has got transformed in the last 3 to 4 months, right? And then when he comes back to Krishna, he says, Krishna, now I know why you sent me to Vrindavan. He says, I don't want this Brahma Rishi title or anything. I think it was just absolutely stupid of me to even want it. And I now understand why you sent me, because there was a big lesson for me to be learned, right? And he says, Evam Bhakti Sakala Bhuvane, in the entire 3 words, Nekshita, na Ikshita, I have not seen, na Shruta, I have not heard, right? He says, the amount of devotion and bhakti the Gopikas has, I have not heard or seen it anywhere in any of the world. He says, Kim Shastrau Gaihi. He says, what is the purpose of learning all the scriptures and learning all the Vedas? Kimiha Tapasa, what is the purpose of learning performing all these austerities and penances if you do not have bhakti in it? Right? He says all of this goes away if it doesn't have the bhakti element in it, which the gopikas have to the highest of extent, right? And he talks about how, despite living in a village which has absolutely no access to information, without knowing anything, these gopikas are the ones who have put their human body to proper use, which is they're devoted their entire life and entire time to be constantly thinking about Krishna, and they are the only ones who have actually put their body to use. None of us are putting our body to proper use because we are not thinking about Krishna all the time. That's what Uddhava is saying. He's saying, so Gopikabhyo namostu. Says my namaskarams to Gopikas because they are the epitome of complete devotion. Because everything else you do, if you don't have devotion in it, it's irrelevant at that point, right? So that's a key takeaway he says, and he says, and that's the reason you have sent me there. And I have realized that I am not the greatest of your devotee, and all this I have is worthless in front of the Gopika. So with this, Uddhava then comes back and then lets Krishna knows, and Krishna says, yes, Uddhava. Krishna, of course, knows. So he says, yes, I wanted you to realize that the pride, the Gopikas don't have the pride also, right? Uddhava also had a little bit of pride that he had to be a Brahma Rishi. It was to remove your pride and to also see that there are other great devotees out there as well. So don't think you are the greatest, right? So with that, this Dashakam comes to an end, and Guru Arpa, please eradicate my ailments. So evam bhaktihi is evam bhaktis sakala bhuvane nekshita na shrutava, comma, kim shastraugaihi, comma, kimiha tapasa, comma, gopikabhyo namostu Ityananda kulam upagatam. Cannot quite break. You can break it that ma if you want, but otherwise pretty much together. Ityananda kulam upagatam, comma, Gokulad uddhavam tam, comma, drishtva Hristo guru purapate, comma, pahi mama mayaughat. Evam bhaktis sakala bhuvane nikshita nashruta va kim shastraugaihi kimiha tapasa gopikabhyo namostu ityananda kulamupagatam gokulad uddhavam tam drishtva hristo gurupurapate pahi mama mayoghat.
एवं भक्तिः सकलभुवने नेक्षिता न श्रुता वा किं शास्त्रौघैः किमिह तपसा गोपिकाभ्यो नमोऽस्तु इत्यानन्दाकुलमुपगतं गोकुलादुत्थवं तं दृष्ट्वा हृष्टो गुरुपुरपते पाहि मामयौघाद एवं भक्तिः सकलभुवने नेक्षिता न श्रुता वा किं शास्त्रौघैः किमिह तपसा गोपिकाभ्यो नमोऽस्तु इत्यानन्दाकुलमुपगतं गोकुलादुत्थवं तं दृष्ट्वा हृष्टो गुरुपुरपते पाहि मामयौघाद.
एवं भक्तिः सकलभुवने नेक्षिता न श्रुता वा किं शास्त्रौघैः किमिह तपसा गोपिकाभ्यो नमोऽस्तु इत्यानन्दाकुलमुपगतं गोकुलात् उद्धवं तं दृष्ट्वा हृष्टो गुरुपुरपते पाहि मामयौघात् एवं भक्तिः सकलभुवने नेक्षिता न श्रुता वा किं शास्त्रौघैः किमिह तपसा गोपिकाभ्यो नमोऽस्तु इत्यानन्दाकुलमुपगतं गोकुलात् उद्धवं तं दृष्ट्वा हृष्टो गुरुपुरपते पाहि मामयौघात्.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, Dashakam 77. 77 is Jarasandhadi Yuddha Varnanam. So battle with Jarasandha and several other people. So this one has a couple of tune changes. So I'll let you know when the changes. Sairandhyaस्तदनुचिरं स्मरातुरायाः यातो भूसुललितमुद्धवेन सार्धम् आवासं त्वदुपगमोत्सवं सदैव ध्यायन्त्याः प्रतिदिनवाससज्जिकायाः. So kind of going back to Dashakam 74, like I told you that three Vakra, the lady who was who was bent in three places, who was selling those perfumes to Krishna, right? And then he then kept his foot and lifted her chin, and she became straight. So, like, she didn't want to let go of Krishna. So I said it's going to come back again in 77. So this, and Krishna had told her, I'll get rid of all my work and eventually will come and meet you. So this Sairandhya, that's her name. So she has been waiting every day, hoping that Krishna is going to come and meet her in her house, and she's been patiently waiting. So with one day, Krishna, along with Uddhava, decided to go and meet her there. Sairandhryas tadanu chiram smaraturayaha. Add a visarga, you may not have it. Add a visarga, comma. Yato bhuhu, put a is, yato bhus sulalitam uddhavena sardham avasam twadupagamotsvam sadaiva, comma, dhyayantyah, put a F, dhyayantyah pratidina vasa sajjikayaha. So she used to decorate her house every day, hoping that Krishna would come. Sairandhryastadanuchiram smaraturayaha yato bhusulalitam uddhavena sardham avasam twadupagamotsvam sadaiva dhyayantyah pratidina vasa sajjikayaha.
Sairandhryastadanuchiram smaraturayaha yado bhusulalitamudhavena sartham avasam twadupagamotsvam sadaiva dhyayantyah pratidina vasa sajjikayaha. Sairandhryastadanuchiram smaraturayaha yado bhusulalitamudhavena sartham avasam twadupagamotsvam sadaiva dhyayantyah pratidina vasa sajjikayaha.
Sairandhyaस्तदनुचिरं स्मरातुरायाः यातो भूसुललितमुद्धवेन सार्धम् आवासं त्वदुपगमोत्सवं सदैव ध्यायन्त्याः प्रतिदिनवाससज्जिकायाः. Sairandhyaस्तदनुचिरं स्मरातुरायाः यातो भूसुललितमुद्धवेन सार्धम् आवासं त्वदुपगमोत्सवं सदैव ध्यायन्तः प्रतिदिनवाससज्जिकायाः.
A fourth line, first word, dhyayantyah.
Dhyayantyah.
Yeah, F, yeah, and the it and ya there, it, ya, Y, and then F.
Dhyayantyah.
Stanza 2. Upagate tvayi purnamanoratam pramada sambhramakam prapayodharam vividhamanamadadatim mudha rahasitam ramayan chakrishe sukham. So she's very excited because she's been waiting every day, had her house ready and decorated for Krishna to come. And we'll look at the why she wanted Krishna to come in the next couple of stanzas. But she was eagerly waiting for Krishna to come. And so when Krishna and Uddhava come, so she's very happy. She welcomes there and she has everything prepared, right, to welcome them and honor them and give them food and all of them and make them comfortable. Upagate tvayi purna manoratham, comma, pramada Sambhrama Kampra Payodharam Vividha Mananam. I'm just breaking at that ma there. Mananam Adadhatim Muda, comma, Rahasi Tam Ramayan Chakrishe Sukham. Upagate Twayi Purna Manoratham Pramada Sambhramakam Prapayodharam Vividhamananam Adadhatim Muda रहसितां रमयाञ्च कृषे सुखम्.
उपगते त्वयि पूर्णमनोरथां प्रमदसम्भ्रमकं प्रपयोधरां विविधमाननमाददीं मुदा रहसितां रमयाञ्जकृषे सुखम् उपगते त्वयि पूर्णमनोरथां प्रमदसम्भ्रमकं प्रपयोधरां विविधमाननमाददीं मुदा रहसितां रमयाञ्जकृषे सुखम्.
उपगते त्वयि पूर्णमनोरथां प्रमदसम्भ्रमकं प्रपयोधरां विविधमाननमाददतीं मुदा रहसितां रमयाञ्च कृषे सुखम् उपगते त्वयि पूर्णमनोरथां प्रमदसम्भ्रमकं प्रपयोधरां विविधमाननमाददतीं मुदा रहसितां रमयाञ्च कृषे सुखम्.
Stanza 3. This one the tune changes. पृष्टाभरं पुनरसाववृणोद्वराकीं भूयस्त्वया सुरतमेव निशान्तरेषु सायुज्यमस्त्विति वदेद्बुध एव कामं सामीप्यम् अस्त्वनिशमित्यपि नाब्रवीत् किम्. So, she initially was very thankful because Krishna is the one. She was like, if you think of her life, she could not even move because she's hunchback, right? So she had three bends, and Krishna kind of literally gave her back her life. So at that time, she felt like she could not let Krishna go. So when Krishna said, okay, you called me home and you've given me all of these things. What do you want in return? So instead of asking Krishna, I want to get liberated or I want to get merged into you, I want to have Sayujyam with you, I want to get merged. She said, instead, her request was, I want you to only spend time with me. And she was like, you think of it as in a lust way, right? That's the feeling she has. And we'll cover a little bit more of that in the fourth stanza. But so she was so attracted to Krishna because he literally got her back to normalcy, right? So she just absolutely fell in love with Krishna. And she said, Krishna, I want you to only be with me, spend time with me, and not spend time with anybody else in this world, no other women in this world, right? And you should always be only with me. So her, like Gopikas was little bit of love and devotion. Hers is pure lust, right? So she wants to just spend time with Krishna, and that is a request she puts to Krishna. Prishta varam punarasava brunot varaki. So you cannot break that word too much. So you have to say it together. Punarasava brunot varaki, comma. Bhuyastvaya suratameva nishantareshu sayujyam. So break at that ma there. Sayujyam astviti. Okay, the next word will start with a. Astviti vadet bhuda eva kamam, comma. Samipyam. Again, like the break at that ma there. Samipyam astvanishamityapi. I'm just going to break it into three parts so you all read it however you're comfortable with. Samipyam astvanisham ityapi. Okay, those are the three words in there. Samipyam astvanisham ityapi nabravit kim. He says Sayujyam. You could have easily asked for Sayujyam, which is merging with you, or Samipyam, being always close to you, which is also a fair ask. But saying that only I can have you and nobody else can have you is a little bit of a greed in there. But that's what she had.
Rajeshji, sorry, one question. The first line, Prishta varam punaraso avrunodharaki irukku.
Yeah, so if we have punarasau Vrinodvaraki, I mean, essentially that the sau and a becomes va there, okay? So punarasava Vrinodvaraki.
Punarasava.
Yeah, sava, this is a sandhi rule. Au and a becomes that va there.
Punarasava.
Sava
Punarasava.
Vrinodvaraki.
Okay, thank you.
पृष्टाभरं पुनरसाववृणोद्वराकी भूयस्त्वया सुरतमेव निशान्तरेषु सायुज्यमस्त्विति वदेद्बुध एव कामं सामीप्यम् अस्त्वनिशमित्यपि नाब्रवीत् किम्
पृष्टावरं पुनरसाववृणोद्वराकी भूयस्त्वया सुरतमेव निशान्तरेषु सायुज्यमस्त्विति वदेद्बुध एव कामं सामीप्यमस्त्वनिशमित्यविना ब्रवीत् किम् पृष्टावरं पुनरसाववृणोद्वराकी भूयस्त्वया सुरतमेव निशान्तरेषु सायुज्यमस्त्विति वदेद्बुध एव कामं सामीप्यमस्त्वनिशमित्यविना ब्रवीत् किम्
पृष्टावरं पुनरसाववृणोद्वराकी भूयस्त्वया सुरतमेव निशान्तरेषु सायुज्यमाविस्तिवदेद्बुध एव कामं सामीप्यम् अस्त्वनिशमित्यपि नाब्रवीत् किम्. Sorry, I messed the last.
That's okay. The third line, sayujyam astviti.
Sayujyam astviti.
Astviti, yeah. So it's ASTH astviti, VITHI, astviti.
ராஜேஷ்ஜி, நீங்க இதை சொல்றப்ப எனக்கு இந்த திருவாசகத்துல மாணிக்கவாசகர் செல்வார், என் கொங்கை நின் நண்பர் அல்லால் அல்லால் சேரற்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு
மீனிங் புரியல. அது
கைண்ட் ஆஃப் இதுதான் சொல்லுவார் அவர், என் கொங்கை நின் அன்பர் அல்லால் சேரற்க.
எனக்கு தமிழ் அந்த வேர்ட்ஸ் சுத்தமா புரியாது.
ஓகே, கைண்ட் ஆஃப் இதுதான் கேட்பாரு அவரு. ஆமா, எனக்கு அது டக்குனு எனக்கு அதுதான் ஞாபகம் வந்து, மாணிக்கவாசகரும் அதே தான் சொல்றார், இங்க சைத்ரி அதே தான் கேட்கிறா அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு.
ஓகே ஓகே.
पृष्टावरं पुनरसाववृणोद्वराकी भूयस्त्वया सुरतमेव निशान्तरेषु सायुज्यमस्त्विति वदेद्बुध एव कामं सामीप्यम् अस्त्वनिशमित्यपि नाब्रवीत् किम्.
That those two lines a little bit of tongue twisters. You have to just it and is are all coming together, right? So ततो भवान् देव निशासु कासुचिते मृगी दृशं तां निवृतं विनोदयन् अदादुपश्लोक इति श्रुतं सुतं स नारदात् सात्वत तंत्र विद्भवौ. So, like, although her approach to Krishna, like you said many times, right? You can approach one in any way you want. There is no set rule. There is no rule that you have to either do devotion or you have to be upset or angry. It's a relationship that matters, right? Having any kind of relation. So although for her it began as a very lusty material desire, right? At the end of the day, her only wish was what? She wanted to have some relationship with only Krishna. That was her thing. So when this doesn't matter what your thing is, Bhagavan anytime, because Bhagavan is above all of these material things, he cannot be bound by any of these things, right? Which means anything that touches him becomes spiritual. That's why Kamsa also is getting liberated, right? Kalanemi, he got liberated. Later on, we're going to see about others as well. So it doesn't matter what that is. So but the moment you want to have any kind of relation, it will naturally become spiritual over a period of time, and then you are going to get liberated. So in her case also the same thing. So initially what started was lust, but later on that actually turns into pure devotion over a period of time, right? And so that what even Bhagavatam talks about this is, it talks about while it's there, but the moment it touches Krishna, it becomes spiritual in nature. So we cannot say that is bad or that is good if it is in relation to Bhagavan, right? Then it is always spiritual in nature, and it doesn't matter what that relation is, right? So that's how this is explained in the context of that. Tato bhavan deva nishasu kasu chit. So the in that is there becomes a it there, kasu chit, comma, mrigi drisham tam nibritam vinodayan adadupashloka iti shrutam sutam, comma, sa naradat satvata tantra vidbhav. So this one talks about, and this is not there in Bhagavatam, but here it talks about there is a son that is eventually born to her called Upashloka. who then goes on, who's then taught a lot of stuff by Narada, and then later on he goes on writes some great stuff in the future. But it is not there in Bhagavatam. But anyway, so but the point in all of this is, even with all the other women who get married to Krishna, it is not actually a marriage. And the just like how when Krishna is born, he's not a human being born, right? So all these children who are being born is just the energy of the Lord, which is actually happening, because later on, it will come in Mahabharata, we'll cover at that time of this conversation, is Krishna is actually spiritual, he's above all of this stuff. So you can say he's a brahmachari also, because none of this, he doesn't have any material connections or relations to anybody here. Tato bhavan deva nishasu kasu chite mrigi drisham tam nibritam vinodayan adadupashloka iti shrutam sutam sanaradat satvata tantra vidbhabhau.
तदो भवान् देव निशासु कासुचित् मृगीदृशं तां निभृतं विनोदयन् अदादुपश्लोक इति श्रुतं सुतं सनारदात् सात्वततन्त्रविद्बभौ तदो भवान् देव निशासु कासुचित् मृगीदृशं तां निभृतं विनोदयन् अदादुपश्लोक इति श्रुतं सुतं सनारदात् सात्वततन्त्रविद्बभौ.
ततो भवान् देवनिशासु कासुचित् मृगीदृशं तां निभृतं विनोदयन् अदादुपश्लोक इति श्रुतं सुतं सनारदात् सात्वततन्त्रविद्बभौ ततो भवान् देवनिशासु कासुचित् मृगीदृशं तां निभृतं विनोदयन् अदादुपश्लोक इति श्रुतं सुतं सनारदात् सात्वततन्त्रविद्बभौ.
We'll switch halfway. Jyotiji, you can be a student, and Shailaja, Naisha, you can be a student. That's fine. Akrura mandiramitoota balodhavabhyam abhyarchito bahunuto muditena tena enam visajya vipinagata pandaveya vrittam vivedita tata dhritarashtra cheshtam. So from now on, little bit Mahabharata stuff will all start getting intertwined into it, right? So, so then one day Krishna and, Balarama and Uddhava, they all went to Akrura. If you remember Akrura, the person who came to pick Krishna up from Vrindavan in 73rd Dashakam. And so Akrura, Krishna then tells Akrura that I need you to go to Hastinapura, because, my aunt who's there, she's her husband is gone, Pandu is gone, right? So because of which the Pandavas have come to Hastinapura and they're staying with Dhritarashtra. And Krishna is saying that the Dhritarashtra, who is their uncle, who's supposed to treat them like his own children, is not treating them that way, right? So his children are not treating them fairly. He himself is not treating them fairly. So he says, can you just go there and tell me what is actually happening, right? So he sends Akrura over to Hastinapur to check on the Pandavas at this time. Akrura mandiramitota balodhavabhyam, put im at the end of that line, comma. Next line, mabhyarchito becomes abhyarchito. Abhyarchito bahu nuto muditena tena enam visujya vipinagata pandaveya, put a plus, vrittam vivedita tatha dhritarashtra cheshtam. Akrura mandiramitota balodhavabhyam abhyarchito bahunuto muditena tena enam visrajya vipinagata pandaveya vrittam vivedita tatha dhritarashtra cheshtam.
अक्रूरमन्दिरमितोधबलोद्धवाभ्याम् अभ्यर्चितो बहुनुतो मुदितेन तेन एनं विसृज्य विपिनागतपाण्डवेयवृत्तं विवेदित तथा धृतराष्ट्रचेष्टाम् अक्रूरमन्दिरमितोधबलोद्धवाभ्याम् अभ्यर्चितो बहुनुतो मुदितेन तेन एनं विसृज्य विपिनागत पाण्डवेयवृत्तं विवेदित तथा तथा धृतराष्ट्रचेष्टाम्
अक्रूरमन्दिरमितोऽथ बलोद्धवाभ्याम् अभ्यर्चितो बहुनुतो मुदितेन तेन एनं विसृज्य विपिनागतपाण्डवेयवृत्तं विवेदिथ तथा धृतराष्ट्रचेष्टाम् अक्रूरमन्दिरमितोऽथ बलोद्धवाभ्याम् अभ्यर्चितो बहुनुतो मुदितेन तेन एनं विसृज्य विपिनागतपाण्डवेयवृत्तं विवेदिथ तथा धृतराष्ट्रचेष्टाम्.
Stanza 6. So here the tune changes for this one stanza to the four-liner tune. Vighata jamatuh paramasuhrudo bhojanrpatehe jarasandhe rundatyanavadirushanthe tamaturam rathadhyairdhyaurlabdhai katipayabalastvam balayutah trayo vimshatyakshauhini tadupanitam samakritaha. So when Kamsa got killed, he had two wives, okay, and they both were sisters. Both of their father is this person called as Jarasandha, and we'll see who is Jarasandha much later because it talks about him at that time. So this Jarasandha, of course, both his daughters have become widows right now, and this Jarasandha and Kamsa were anyway good friends because they all had the same enemies, right? So they all were like friends with each other. So now he is very upset about what Krishna has done, and he wants to now get rid of Krishna and Balarama and get rid of Madhura also. So he then sends this troop. It's called one Akshauhini. The definition of what one Akshauhini, as per my book, is 21,870 elephants. So you keep that as X. So X elephants, where X is equal to 21,870. Same number of chariots, 3 times the number of that in horses, and 5 times the number of that in soldiers. So it is about 100,000 soldiers with 21,000 elephants. That is considered as one Akshauhini. In the Mahabharata war, there were 17 Akshauhinis which participated. 16 were in Kaurava's side, 1 was in Pandava's side. Now this Jarasandha, he's sending 23 Akshauhinis. So which means 23 times 21,000 elephants, 23 times 100,000 people. So I don't know how so many people were there and so many elephants, but anyway, so that is the amount of people who are actually sent to battle against Krishna and Balarama and to attack Madhura at this time, where they're sitting. Vigathaj Jamatuhu, put a F, Jamatuh, Parama Suhrudo. Parama Suhrudo is a great friend. Jarasandha, although he's a father-in-law, he was an extremely good friend of Kamsa. Parama Suhrudo, Bhoja Nripatehe, put a Visarga and comma, end of that line. Next line, the Ir goes away on top of Ja. Jarasandhe Rundatyanavadhi, one word, Rundatyanavadhi, Rushandheta Mathuram, Rathadhyair, Dyor, so Ir sound coming on both, Rathadhyair, Dyor, Labdhaihi, put a H to join, Labdhaih, Katipaya, Balastwam, Balayutaha, put a Visargan comma. Next line, the Is goes away. Trayo Vimshatyakshauhini. So Trayo Vimshati Akshauhini. Akshauhini is that one formation. So Trayo Vimshatyakshauhini Tadupanitam Samakritaha. Vighata Jamatuh Paramasuhrudo Bhojanrpatehe Jarasandhe Rundatyanavadhirushande Maturam Rathadhyairdhyorlabdhaih Katipayabalastvam balayutah Trayo Vimshatyakshauhini Tadupanitam Samakritaha.
विखाता जामादुः परमसुहृदो भोजनिपतेः जरासन्धेरुन्धत्यनवधि रुषान्धेथ मधुराम् रथाद्यैर्द्योर्लब्धैः कतिपयबलस्त्वम् बलयुतः त्रयोविंशत्यक्षौहिणी तदुपनीतम् समहृताः. विखाता जामादुः परमसुहृदो भोजनिपतेः जरासन्धेरुन्धत्यनवधि रुषान्धेऽथ मथुराम् रथाद्यैर्द्योर्लब्धैः कतिपयबलस्त्वं बलयुतः त्रयोविंशत्यक्षौहिणी तदुपनीतं समहृताः
विघाता जामातुः परमसुहृदो भोजनृपतेः जरासन्धेरुन्धत्यनवधिरुषान्धेऽथ मथुराम् रथाद्यैः द्योर्लब्धैः कतिपयबलस्त्वं बलयुतः त्रयोविंशत्यक्षौहिणी तदुपनीतं समहृताः.
Guru, that Rata Dhyair, if you have a Visarga there, you can put a ir to join. Rata Dhyair, Dior, Labdaih, ih, instead of the Visarga.
Dior labdhaihi, yeah.
Labdaih, not Labdaihi, it becomes a ih sound instead of, you can put the joining sound to join it instead of the Visarga, yeah.
विघाता जामातुः परमसुहृदो भोजनृपतेः जरासन्धेरुन्ध्यत्यनवधिरुषान्धेऽथ मथुराम्
Ratadhyair, Dior, Labdaih.
रथाद्यैर्द्योर्लब्धैः कतिपयबलस्त्वं बलयुतः त्रयोविंशत्यक्षौहिणी तदुपनीतं समहृताः विघाता जामा.
You said two times, yeah.
I said two times. Okay.
Yeah. Stanza 7. So this one again, the tune changes. So this chapter, the chandas keeps changing, so we have to keep adjusting it. Baddam baladata balena balottaram tvam bhuyo balodhyamarasena mumochithainam nishesha digjaya samahrita vishwasainyat konyastato hi balapaurushavaam stadhani. So when he comes with the 23 Akshohinis, Krishna and Balarama are able to just single-handedly get rid of him. That's going to keep happening several times. So now he has actually accumulated army and people from all the neighboring kingdoms, because he wins with multiple kingdoms, he gets all their armies, right? So with that, finally, then Krishna is now thinking, what do we do with this Jarasandha? So first, they chase him, and then Balarama gets hold of Jarasandha. And Balarama says, let's get rid of Jarasandha right now, because he's going to be a pain. He's going to keep attacking us, right? But he is not destined to die at the hand of Krishna or Balarama, number one. And number two is, him being alive, they're going to have more events which are going to happen, which need to happen. If he dies, all those events will not happen. So Krishna and Balarama let him go, right? So they just kind of, let him go, and without killing him, and he then essentially runs away. His army is defeated, but then he's then told to run away. Baddam baladhata balena balottaram tvam, bhuyo balodhyama rasena mumochithainam nishesha dig jaya samahrita vishwa sainyat, and literally it is Vishwa Sainya. He literally gets people from all over the world. And we're going to see later on how people from Greece, etc. are going to come as well. So he's essentially collecting from all over the world. He collects his armies. Vishwa Sainyat, Konyas Tato hi Bala Paurushavam Stadani. Baddham baladata balena balottaram tvam bhuyo balodhyamarasena mumochithainam nishesha digjaya samahrita vishwasainyat konyastato hi balapaurushavaam stadani.
बद्धं बलादधबलेन बलोत्तरं त्वं भूयो बलोद्यमरसेन मुमोजिथैनं निःशेषदिग्जयसमाहृतविश्वसैन्यात् कोऽन्यस्ततो हि बलपौरुषवांस्तदानीम् बद्धं बलादधबलेन बलोत्तरं त्वं भूयो बलोद्यमरसेन मुमोजिथैनं निःशेषदिग्जयसमाहृत विश्वसैन्यात् कोऽन्यस्ततो हि बलपौरुषवांस्तदानीम्.
बद्धं बलादथ बलेन बलोत्तरं त्वं भूयो बलोद्यमरसेन मुमोचिथैनं निःशेषदिग्जयसमाहृतविश्वसैन्यात् कोऽन्यस्ततो हि बलपौरुषवांस्तदानीम् बद्धं बलादथ बलेन बलोत्तरं त्वं भूयो बलोद्यमरसेन मुमोचिथैनं निःशेषदिग्जयसमाहृतविश्वसैन्यात् कोऽन्यस्ततो हि बलपौरुषवांस्तदानीम्
Answer 8. Bhagna salagna hridayopi nripaih pranunno yuddham tvaya vyadita shodashakritva evam akshauhini shiva shivasya jaganta vishnu sambhuya saika navati trishatam tadhani. So typically the kings, when they are released or told to let go without literally killing them, because you don't want to lose in the battle and be alive. They feel that's an insult. So Jarasandha felt like, Krishna has just told me to go, which is a huge insult. So he says, I want to give up his life. So his other kings say, what, don't do that. It's just, your time has not come, but let's go attack again. And then he goes Shodasha, 16 more times. He attacks with those 23 Akshauhinis on Madhura. And all 17 times, his army is defeated and he is running away. So totally, Saika Navati Shatham, 391 Akshauhinis. So 23 Akshauhinis in each attempt times 17 times. So 391 Akshauhinis. Every time they keep coming to Madhura and every time they keep getting defeated, and he goes back and he doesn't give up. Right? He continues to keep doing this, trying to get hold of Krishna and Balarama, but he's not successful all these 17 times. Bhagnaha put is Bhagnas sa lagna hridayopi nripaihi put f nripai pranunno, yuddham tvaya vyadita shodasha kritva evam akshauhinihi put ish to join akshauhinish Shiva Shivasya Jagantha Vishnu, Sambhuya Saika Navati Trishatam Tadani. Bhagna Salagna Hridayopi Nripaih Pranunno Yuddham Tvaya Vyadita Shodashakritva evam Akshauhini Shiva Shivasya Jagantha Vishnu Sambhuya Saika Navati Trishatam Tadani.
भग्नः सलग्नहृदयोऽपि नृपैः भग्नः सलग्नहृदयोऽपि नृपैः प्रणुन्नो युद्धं त्वया व्यधित षोडशकृत्व एवम् अक्षौहिणी शिव शिवास्य जघन्त विष्णो सम्भूय सैकनवति त्रिशतं तदानीम् भग्नः सलग्नहृदयोऽपि नृपैः प्रणुन्नो युद्धं त्वया व्यधित षोडशकृत्व एवम् अक्षौहिणी शिव शिवास्य जघन्त विष्णो सम्भूय सैकनवति त्रिशतं तदानीम्
भग्नः सलग्नहृदयोऽपि नृपैः प्रणुन्नो युद्धं त्वया व्यधितषोडशकृत्व एवम् अक्षौहिणी शिव शिवास्य जघन्थ विष्णो सम्भूय सैकनवतित्रिशतं तदानीम् भग्नः सलग्नहृदयोऽपि नृपैः प्रणुन्नो युद्धं त्वया व्यधितषोडशकृत्व एवम् अक्षौहिणी शिव शिवास्य जघन्थ विष्णो सम्भूय सैकनवतित्रिशतं तदानीम्.
That's a 9. अष्टादशोऽस्य समरे समुपेयुषि त्वं दृष्ट्वा पुरोत यवनत्रिकोट्या त्वष्ट्राभिधाप्य पुरमाशु पयोधि मध्ये तत्रातयोगबलतः स्वजनाननैषीः. So two stories are happening here. So one, this Jarasandha is now getting ready to attack for the 18th time, right? So Ashtadasha. So he's not giving up, right? He was okay, one more time I'm going to do it with this Akshauhini. So he's getting ready to attack Mathura from one side. On the second side, what is happening is Yavana. Yavana refers to the people who are from Greece, from Greek area. So there is one king there in Greece who was very powerful, and he always wanted to, and he's been like Kamsa, all people do atrocities when they have a lot of power. So he's also doing that, and he wants to go battle somebody who's really strong. So the story goes that Narada once ends up visiting him, and then he asks, who's the strongest person? So he says there's a person called Krishna in Madura. He's defeated this Jarasandha 17 times, 391 Akshohinis. I don't think you can find someone smarter. So this Yavana also decides to attack Madura with 3 kotya, with 30 million soldiers who are actually all coming from Greece all the way to Mathura to go and battle against Krishna here. So he's coming from one side, Jarasandha is coming from another side. So Krishna says, you know what? This is a problem because Mathura is situated right in the center. You can attack from all sides, and it's difficult for the army to manage all of these people. So what you do is, Krishna, overnight, you then through yoga bhalata, because with your yogic power, you have Vishwakarma create a city, a fort in the middle of the ocean, which is 96 miles in circumference. And then you create that which is Dwaraka essentially. So he creates Dwaraka overnight. It is getting created, and everybody in Mathura is getting moved over there overnight as well. So this is kind of coming to the end of Krishna's time in Mathura, because from now everything is going to be in Dwaraka. So this is and we'll talk about Dwaraka in a little bit in the next chapter, next Dasakam. But it's 96 miles in circumference, created in the middle of the ocean. So it's hard for people like Jarasandha to just bring all this army and attack, right? And overnight, Vishwakarma constructs it, gets it ready, and everybody from Madura is moved over there to Dwaraka. Ashtadashesya samare samupeyushi tvam, दृष्ट्वा पुरोत यवनम यवन त्रिकोट्या त्वष्ट्रा विधाप्य पुरमाशु पयोधि मध्ये means middle of the ocean, पयोधि मध्ये, तत्रात योग बलतः, put is balatas स्वजनाननैषीः. अष्टादशेस्य समरे समुपेयुषि त्वं दृष्ट्वा पुरोत यवनं यवनत्रिकोट्या त्वष्ट्रा विधाप्य पुरमाशु पयोधि मध्ये तत्रात योगबलतः स्वजनाननैषीः.
अष्टादशेस्य समरे समुपेयुषि त्वं दृष्ट्वा पुरोधयवनं यवनत्रिकोट्या त्वष्ट्रा विधाप्य पुरमाशु पयोधि मध्ये तत्राधयोगबलतः स्वजनाननैषीः. अष्टादशेस्य समरे समुपेयुषि त्वं दृष्ट्वा पुरोधयवनं यवनत्रिकोट्या त्वष्ट्रा विधाप्य पुरमाशु पयोधि मध्ये तत्राधयोगबलतः स्वजनाननैषीः.
अष्टादशेस्य समरे समुपेयुषि त्वं दृष्ट्वा पुरोथ यवनं यवनत्रिकोट्या त्वष्ट्रा विधाप्य पुरमाशु पयोधि मध्ये तत्राथ योगबलतः स्वजनाननैषीः. अष्टादशेस्य समरे समुपेयुषि त्वं दृष्ट्वा पुरोथ यवनं यवनत्रिकोट्या त्वष्ट्रा विधाप्य पुरमाशु पयोधि मध्ये तत्राथ योगबलतः स्वजनाननैषीः.
That's a 10. 10, 11, 12 again go to the 4-line chandas. Padbhyam tvam padmamalim चकित इव पुरा निर्गतो धावमानो म्लेच्छेषेनानुयातो वद सुकृतविहीनेन शैलेन्यलैषीः सुप्तेनाङ्ग्र्याहतेन द्रुतमतमुचुकुन्धेन भस्मीकृतेऽस्मिन् भूपायास्मै गुहान्ते सुललितवपुषा तस्तिषे भक्तिभाजे. So when both of these people are attacking at the same time, the people are all moved over to Dwaraka overnight. So Krishna then tells Balarama, okay, this is what we're going to do. You hold Mathura, you take care of it. This Yavana who is coming, who is called as Mlecha. Mlecha means people who are like what do you call, not of the highest quality, right? That's kind of what it means. So the people from Greece who are like, they just do all kinds of atrocities at the time. So this Mlecha who is coming, he says, I'm going to deal with him, Krishna tells. Now, this Mlecha, when he's coming, Yavana who is coming, how will he recognize Krishna? So Narada, that's where comes and helps, right? Because his purpose of Narada is to move people towards Bhagavan. So Narada goes and tells this Mlecha that when he's coming, it's very easy. You will see this guy who will be, dark skinned, right? He's got long arms, he's got curly black hairs. He'll always be wearing a pitambaram, and he'll be sometimes wearing this vanamali on his neck. And then he's generally not wearing anything on top. That's how you find this person. So this Yavana comes to attack, and he sees that the gates of Mathura, outside the gates of Mathura, one person is standing exactly like that. So he decides, oh, this is Krishna, because it exactly looks like him. But this person, instead of attacking nature, is beginning to run away. So this Yavana also starts chasing Krishna because he is trying to get hold of Krishna. So his army is still stationed there. This Yavana, he tries to chase Krishna, and Krishna then keeps on running, and this person also keeps on chasing him. Does anybody know what is Krishna's name because of this? In the North India, he's called by a particular name because of this. He's called Ranachod, the person who ran away from the battlefield. So that's one of the names. Because just like how we have, like Keshava, Narayana, Madhava, different reasons. The Ranachod means the person who ran away from the battlefield. So anyway, Krishna runs away.
Sounds good, Rajesh.
No, but that's okay. That is Parsi. Krishna could have killed this Mlecha in the blink of an eye. But he's not destined to die in Krishna's hands, right? There's a reason why Krishna is running away, right? Not because of fear, because of other reasons, which we'll see. So, but it doesn't matter. People can call whatever you want, right? At the end of the day, Krishna could have done what? So anyway, so Krishna runs away, and this Mlecha is saying, why is this guy running away? He's like afraid of me, and then he keeps chasing him. Krishna then enters into a cave, and then this person also enters. When this Mlecha enters into the cave, he sees somebody lying there, sleeping, with a vastram on top, which is the pitambaram on top. So he's like, okay, this person has come running from me. He's trying to hide himself in this cave, and this Mlecha goes and kicks that person who is lying on the ground there. When that person wakes up, and then he looks at this person, Yavana, he's burned to ashes. So he's a person called as Muchukunda, and we'll see who that Muchukunda is in the next stanza. That's why it says, Muchukundena bhasmi kritesmin. So he's just burned to ashes because of Muchukunda just waking up and looking at this Mlecha. That's the reason Krishna didn't want to kill him, because he wasn't destined to die in Krishna's hands. There is a reason Krishna has to go meet Muchukunda right now, and that was the way Muchukunda had to be met by Krishna, and then Muchukunda had to get rid of him. That's why Krishna ran away from that Mlecha there. Padbyam tvam padmamali, chakita iva puran nirgato dhavamano, mleche shenanu yato, cannot break that word, mleche shenanu yato, vadha sukrita vihinena shaile nyalaishihi. Padbyam tvam padmamali chakita iva puran nirgato dhavamano mleche shenanu yato vada sukrita vihinena shaile nyalaishihi.
Padbhyam tvam padmamali chakita iva pura nirgado dhavamano mleche shenanuyato vatha sukrita vihinena shailena laishihi. Padbhyam tvam padmamali chakita iva pura nirgado dhavamano mleche shenanuyato vatha sukrita vihinena shailena laishihi.
Padbhyam tvam padmamali chakita iva pura nirgato dhavamano mleche shenanuyato vadha sukrita vihinena shailenya laishihi. पद्भ्यां त्वं पद्ममाली चकित इव पुरान्निर्गतो धावमानो म्लेच्छेशयनानुयातो वधसुकृतविहीनेन शैलेन्यलैषीः
Suptenanghryahatena. You cannot break that word. Remember the word angry. That's where the gra sound is coming. Suptenanghryahatena, comma. Drutamata muchukundena bhasmi kritesmin, comma. Bhupayasmai guhante, comma. Sulalita vapusha tastishe bhakti bhaje.
गुहांदे के विसर्ग मिर्का
Ille, just guhante.
Okay.
No visarga. सुप्तेनाघ्र्याहतेन द्रुतमतमुचुकुन्देन भस्मीकृतेऽस्मिन् भूपायास्मै गुहान्ते सुललितवपुषा तस्तिषे भक्तिभाजे.
सुप्तेनाङ्घ्र्याहतेन द्रुतमथ मुजुकुन्देन भस्मीकृतेऽस्मिन् भूपायास्मै गुहान्ते सुललितवपुषा तस्थिषे भक्तिभाजे. सुप्तेनाङ्घ्र्याहतेन द्रुतमथ मुजुकुन्देन भस्मीकृतेऽस्मिन् भूपायास्मै गुहान्ते सुललितवपुषा तस्थिषे भक्तिभाजे.
सुप्तेनाङ्घ्र्याहतेन द्रुतमथ मुचुकुन्देन भस्मीकृतेऽस्मिन् भूपायास्मै गुहान्ते सुललितवपुषा तस्थिषे भक्तिभाजे. सुप्तेनाङ्घ्र्याहतेन द्रुतमथ मुचुकुन्देन भस्मीकृतेऽस्मिन् भूपायास्मै गुहान्ते सुललितवपुषा तस्थिषे भक्तिभाजे.
That's 11. ऐक्ष्वाकोऽहं विरक्तोऽस्म्यखिल नृपसुखे त्वत्प्रसादैककाङ्क्षी हादेवेति स्तुवन्तम् वरविततिच्युतं निःस्पृहं वीक्ष्य हृष्यन् मुक्ते स्तुल्यां च भक्तिं धुतसकलमलं मोक्षमप्याशु दत्त्वा कार्यं हिंसा विशुद्ध्यै तप इति च तदा प्रातलोकप्रतीत्यै. So who is this Muchukunda? He's born in the Ikshwaku dynasty long time back. And, he was a very, very powerful king. So he was actually requested by Indra to come and help him out to battle against the Asuras at some point. So this Muchukunda left everything that he had. He went to Indralokam and fought on the side of the Devas as one of their commanders against the Asuras for a long amount of time, right? And to the point that he didn't even sleep. He was just constantly fighting. Now, when he went to that Swargalokam, that time in earth, long time had already passed. So when he came back, all his family, nobody was there because years, thousands of years or whatever had passed. So Indra was so pleased. Indra says, what do you want? He says, I don't want anything. I just want to rest, right? That's the only ask he has. So Indra gives him that boon saying, you go rest for as long as you want. If anybody tries to disturb you or wake you, when your eyesight falls on them, they're going to get burned to ashes because nobody should wake you up. So that's how he comes over to one of the sides of Dwaraka, somewhere on the outskirts, or somewhere between Mathura and Dwaraka, and then he's hiding in a cave, which this person, Yavana, ends up coming in and then kicking him. And now when he wakes up, he sees him and then he's burnt, right? That's the kind of story behind that. Now, this Muchukunda, he's seen that Krishna now comes out. Krishna was in hiding, he comes out, and this Muchukunda realizes by looking at Krishna, because he was told that in Dwapara Yugam, you're going to meet Bhagavan himself who's going to come. You can ask him for the boon. So then he says, what you want? When Krishna asks, he says, all I want is just devotion. So please bless me. So Krishna then gives him a path, because as a king, he has committed a lot of crimes, right? In terms of killing and all of that stuff. So anyway, Krishna gives him a path of how to get over all of that and how to get liberated eventually. So with that blessing, then Muchukunda then wakes up, and then he spends the rest of his life, in the right path. He goes into Bhakti Margam and eventually gets liberated. Aikshwa koham Biraktosmyakila. cannot break that word much. Viraktosmyakila nrupa sukhe, comma, tvat prasadaika kankshi, comma, ha deveti stuvantam, comma, bara vitatishu tam nihi, put a is there, nis spriham vikshya hrishyan. Aikshvakoham viraktosmyakila nripasukhe tvat prasadaika kankshi ha deveti stuvantam bara vitatishu tam nispruham vikshya hrishyan. Actually, you just do one time. One more stanza.
Okay. Okay. Aikshvakoham viraktosmyakila nripasukhe त्वत्प्रसादैककाङ्क्षी हा देवेति स्तुवन्तं वरविततिषु तं निःस्पृहं वीक्ष्य हृष्यन्.
ऐक्ष्वाकोऽहं विरक्तो स्म्यखिलनृपसुखे त्वत्प्रसादैककाङ्क्षी हा देवेति स्तुवन्तं वरविततिषु तं निःस्पृहं वीक्ष्य हृष्यन्.
The first line, Virakto Smyakila, you cannot break it. So you kind of have to just say it together. Okay, so Muktes Tulyam Cha Bhaktim Dhuta Sakala Malam. I think some books say Malam. If you have Malam, just change it to Malam. Dhuta Sakala Malam, comma. Mokshamapyashu Dattva, comma. Karyam Himsa Vishuddhyai Tapa iti cha tada, telling him to do penance, comma, prata loka pratitye. Mukte stulyam cha bhaktim dhuta sakalamalam mokshamapyashu dattva karyam himsa vishuddhyai tapa iti cha tada prata loka pratitye.
Mukte stulyam cha bhaktim dhuta sakalamalam मोक्षमप्याशु दत्त्वा कार्यं हिंसा विशुद्धे तप इति च तदा प्रार्थलोकप्रतीत्यै.
मुक्ते स्तुल्यां च भक्तिं धुतसकलमलं मोक्षमप्याशु दत्त्वा कार्यं हिंसा विशुद्ध्यै तप इति च तदा प्रार्थलोकप्रतीत्यै.
So 12. Tadanu mathuram gatva hatva chamum yavana hritam, comma, magada patina marge sainyaihi, put a F, sainyai pureva nivaritah charama vijayam darpa yasmai pradaya palayito, comma, jaladhi nagarim yato vatalayeshwara pahima. Tadanu mathuram gatva hatva chamum yavana hritam magadapatina marge sainyai pureva nivaritah charama vijayam darpayasmai pradaya palayito jaladhi nagarim yato vatalayeshwara pahimam.
Tadanu mathuram gatva hatva chamum yavana hridam makhadapadina marge sainyapureva varitaha charama Tadanu mathuram gatva hatva chamum yavana hridam makhadapadina marge sainyai pureva nivaritaha charama vijayam darpayasmai pradaya palayito jaladhi nagarim yato vatalayeshwara pahimam. Sri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha.
तदनु मथुरां गत्वा हत्वा चमूं यवनाहृतां मगधपतिना मार्गे सैन्यैः पुरेव निवारितः चरमविजयं दर्पायास्मै प्रदाय पलायितो जलधिनगरीं यातो वातालयेश्वर पाहि माम्. Shri Guru Vairappa.
Just quick meaning on this. So then after he's gotten rid of Krishna, they come back to Mathura where his Yavana's army is still there. You get rid of Yavana's army, Then Jarasanda's 18th attempt is there. So for once, Krishna, you decide that, let him win this time, because there's no use constantly fighting him. He's already defeated 17 times. So Krishna and Balarama essentially run away. They don't want to fight him. So they just run away, and then Jarasandha, he tries to light some place on fire, etc. But they escape. So he thinks they are dead. Krishna and Balarama are dead. Jarasandha thinks, and he goes back. And you, O Guruvayurappa, you then come to Jaladi Nagarim. You come to the land which you have established in the middle of the ocean to Dwaraka, and with that you then settle down there. So Guruvayurappa, please eradicate my ailments. With
So
that,
is the Jalandhara still going to be in the character means?
Yeah, he's because Avanoda Jarasandha Vadam is going to come later, right? In 80 something, it's going to come.
Yeah, right.
The Bhima has to get rid of him.
But
So
any significance of that 18 attempts?
no, I don't know why it's 18. I don't know. I mean, it's just that 17 times, and I don't know why it's 18 if you're asking about the number. सान्ध्रानन्धावभूतात्मकमनुपमितं कालदेशावलिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावद्भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे हन्त भाग्यं जनानां कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Rajesh.